How do you navigate a volatile world? Welcome to the Crystal Ball. I am your leadership catalyst, Commander Girish Konkar. Now, while I am no astrologer, I am a strategist. We use the naval appreciation and wargaming templates to map the future and find your most strategic path. Let's look ahead. Early today, the world held its breath. The clock was ticking towards 0530 Indian Standard Time, the deadline set by the White House for a complete demolition of the Iranian infrastructure. We were minutes away from a strike that promised to take out every major bridge and power plant in Iran. Then, the flash on the wire, a 2 week ceasefire. For the next 14 days, the Strait of Hormuz reopens. The guns are silent, the missiles are silent. The crystal ball shows that this isn't the end of the war. It's the beginning of a high speed chess match. Today, we wargame what happens when the fuse is paused but not removed. Just to set the context again, to understand where we are going, we must look at how we got to this ledge. Since February 28, the US and Israel have conducted pretty surgical and devastating campaign against Iran nuclear and military sites. In retaliation, Tehran effectively choked the Strait of Hormuz, sending the global oil prices past the almost $120 per barrel. The freeze is a temporary bridge that stopped the demolition order. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has agreed to safe passage for shipping in exchange for a total halt of US Israeli strikes. But notice the fine print. This is only for 14 days. This is a cooling period in a furnace. Now, predicting the future is never easy, especially when you have a Donald Trump's mercurial art of the deal style clashing with a hardline, ideologically driven Iranian regime. The crystal ball gets cloudy. On the one side, you have a president who can pivot from total demolition to a handshake in a heartbeat. On the other, a regime that often views compromise as a betrayal of its core identity. This isn't just a policy battle, it's a high stakes collision of egos and deep seated fears. In this 14-day window, the only certainty is that your strategy cannot remain static. Let us now wargame the possible scenarios that emerge. In the Navy, we would do something called as an appreciation and then wargame where various scenarios would be played out in order to analyze the best course of action. We are going to analyze three possibilities as a fallout of this ceasefire. Option one, I would call it as a strategic standoff, or you might call it as a fragile freeze. Both sides use the 14 days window not to negotiate, but to regroup. The US maneuvers its carrier strike groups into better positions, gets in more troops. Iran repairs damaged air defenses and reinforces its professed human chains around the power plants. By day 12, negotiations stall over the issue of permanent sanctions relief. The safe passage in the strait becomes very dicey, and it becomes a case of between the US destroyers and Iranian speedboats. Outcome, the ceasefire expires without a renewal. The demolition strikes as threatened by Donald Trump, the president, are executed on April 22nd. By then, Iran probably has moved its high value assets underground. We enter a long, grinding war of attrition. Option two, this I would call as the proxy spark, or could be the sabotage. Now, while the principals, that is Washington, Israel, and probably and Tehran, want to talk, the various proxies, you have Hezbollah and the various militia groups feel sidelined. A lone wolf missile strike from a non-state actor hits a US asset or an Israeli city. And the US now views strikes as a violation of the spirit of the ceasefire. And President Trump, maybe citing his final deadline rhetoric, ignores the negotiation channel and launches the infrastructure strike within 4 hours of the incidents. What is the outcome? Could be total regional escalation. The Strait of Hormuz is mined, global energy markets collapse, and the 14-day pause is remembered as the last missed opportunity for peace. There's possibly a third option, what is called as the breakthrough and the grand pivot. And realizing that total demolition would create a humanitarian vacuum and a global depression, the US uses the 14 days to offer what one can call as a nuclear for infrastructure deal. Iran, facing internal protests and a crippled economy, accepts a supervised halt of all enrichment in exchange for the permanent lifting of energy sanctions. This could lead to an accord that becomes a permanent security framework. Regional trade resumes, and the US shifts its focus towards domestic economic stability. The outcome? A historic geopolitical realignment. Iran enters a normalization phase, and the threat of a Middle Eastern world war is deferred for a generation. The leadership lesson that emerges: as a leader, how do you manage a 14 days fuse? Whether it's a strike at a major company or a geopolitical ceasefire, the lesson is the same. Do not mistake a pause for a solution. When you are in a high conflict negotiation, the cooling period is your most valuable asset. You must use this time to do three things. Number one, lower the temperature, stop the rhetoric. Notice how the White House and Tehran have suddenly shifted from a demolition to coordination. Number two, verify the small wins. Ensure the safe passage to the strait starts from day one. Trust is built in centimeters, not kilometers. And number third, prepare for the no deal. A leader who doesn't have a plan for what happens on day 15 is at the mercy of the other side. In your own boardrooms this week, if you have a looming deadline or a war with a competitor, ask yourself, what is my accord? What is that temporary bridge that I can build today to stop a demolition for tomorrow? Which plan do you think we are going to have see? The freeze, the sabotage, or the breakthrough? In the military, we say plan for A, B, and C. But the moment the first bullet fires, all plans go for a toss. What happens after 14 days? Will our one of our scenarios hold, or will a fourth one emerge? We'll only know then. Until then, let's lead through the fog, keep your eyes on the horizon, And thank you for watching The Crystal Ball. I am your leadership catalyst, Commander Girish Konkar. See you next week. Jai Hind.